Stay strong, parents. School starts in 30 days. I'm Jeff Wagner in for Charlie Sykes. Sunday Insight starts right now. Well, good morning and welcome to Sunday Insight. In the week that was, the search for the Milwaukee lion continues. Witnesses continue to claim that a large cat-like creature is stalking the north side. Unfortunately, every time authorities show up, the animal disappears into thin air, kind of like juvenile carjackers in Milwaukee fleeing from police. By a solid margin, the State Assembly passed the downtown arena bill and sent it to the governor's desk. The only real question that remains is whether the Milwaukee County Board will find some way to screw up the project. My advice, never underestimate the ability of the county board to mess up a good idea. And finally, the museum is getting ready to close its popular Streets of Old Milwaukee exhibit in order to give it a facelift. Hopefully the new general store won't accept ATM cards and the remodeled tavern won't have big screen TVs. But first this morning, we discussed juvenile crime. It appears that many of the car thefts and carjackings that are plaguing the community are being committed by juveniles who have repeatedly been through the Milwaukee County juvenile justice system. Now this week, a 16-year-old caught in a stolen car was even able to smuggle a handgun into the juvenile detention facility by hiding it. Well, don't ask where he hid it. The question, though, is whether anything can be done to stop these hoodlums. Joining me on our panel this morning, Milwaukee Alderman Bob Donovan, State Senator Alberta Darling, Susie Falk of the Falk Group, and State Representative Jim Ott. Okay, Bob Donovan, I know you hear from your constituents. I know you hear about this all over the city. What's going on with juvenile crime, and can we do anything?
Well, I think, first of all, yes, we have to do something, but I think it's going to have to come on a variety of fronts. And the chickens have come home to roost, Jeff, for years. We have felt, for whatever reason, the system has treated kids in a way that they have been able to get away with so many crimes that have been committed with bad behavior. So first and foremost, we need to send a message that yes, there are going to be consequences for your actions. Let me tell you this, I was meeting with a number of business owners in Milwaukee the other day. One of them on the north side, owns a store on the north side, is continually getting hit up with kids coming in, running through his store, grabbing stuff, run out. He calls the police. Police won't even come. They're telling him he's got to hire his own security. What's wrong with that scenario? Okay, we need the state help in changing the juvenile justice system, I believe, and I'd reopen the school out at Wales, for God's sakes, and start punishing some of these kids. Jim
Ott, like me, you are a recovering attorney. One of the things that the juvenile court justices say and judges say in trying to explain why they do what they do is, well, that we're limited by the juvenile justice code. We treat children like they're delinquents, not like they're violent, dangerous criminals. I mean, is there a possibility of a legislative fix for this?
I guess we'd have to look at what the current laws are, but I think the problem is the current laws aren't being used to the full extent. There was a case in Milwaukee, I think you maybe even talked about it, where a 17-year-old was arrested for carjacking where he shot a person, shot a woman, and he was already on, his sentence was completed. He had a prior conviction for armed robbery. By the time he was 17, what kind of a short sentence was there for his original crime? Secondly, you know, we used to have a program called Scared Straight, where juveniles, as a part of their sentence, would be tour a prison for a day and have some of the inmates tell them what it really is like in a prison for 10 or 20 years as compared to a juvenile justice facility. If we don't have any form of something like that going on right now, maybe we do, maybe to make an impact on some of these young people where they're headed.
You know, Alberta, I know you and I have talked about the police policy of not chasing car thieves, for example. One of the things the chief of police says is, even if we chase them, they turn out to be juveniles, the DA's office won't charge them, or if they do charge them, all the judges in the juvenile court just turn around and let them go, so why bother chasing them in the first place?
I think that's the major problem, and Flynn is absolutely right. We know who these habitual offenders are, we know where they live, and we know what they've done, but we have a disconnect between the cops, the DA, and the courts, and unless we get this seriousness about these offenders, they become bolder and bolder and bolder, and that's what's happening in Wisconsin. Until we get Chisholm to wake up, until we get these judges to wake up, understand these aren't just kids, poor kids who need help. They need consequences, and they need now and certainty.
And they need to be deterred. I mean, you have. I think the U.S. Attorney Santel is his name. He was talking to the mayor. He's talking to the police. He was talking to the county and saying, how can we solve this? So in May, I believe, he looked at 3 cases, and they're being considered in federal court. And I think the word needs to get out there on the street that for these very violent offenders, you know, if you're a kid, you're 16, 17, we're still going to treat you, we're going to look at you in federal court, and you may not be going to prison in the state. We may be sending you out of state, and that's scary, I would think.
I mean, isn't part of the problem, Susie, the idea that we think, I think we all live in these Ozzie and Harriet days where we think, okay, well, all right, it's just somebody that's out there and they're toilet papering houses or something, not realizing that we've got 13 and 14-year-olds that are on their way to becoming career criminals.
Well, that's right, and I think we talked about it last week on the show, these mobile drug units in the form of cars with tinted windows, you know, that the carjackings are increasing because you've got these kids that are dealing in drugs in these cars, and so car theft is a huge problem. We do need to get very serious about it, but the positive things we can be doing, and some initiatives are taking place in the city, are offering these kids jobs. We've got one alderman who's created a clean summer youth program. 200 kids are being put to work so that they can feel the value of working and really take them off the street.
But my sense is your constituents and constituents around the city have just said enough is enough with this.
Without a doubt, Jeff. In fact, we've got a meeting this coming Wednesday about all of the out-of-control crime, and people have had it up to here.
But the laws are good, and they're in place, and they're not being used, and I think that's what people need to understand.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the frustrations you have with the juvenile court justices and the system, and because people don't want to see folks coming into the system time after time. Okay, what has your glass half full, and what has your glass half empty? Let's go around the table. We start with Alderman Donovan.
Well, Jeff, my glass is half full because Packer season is just around the corner. My glass is half empty because we still have a little time to wait.
Alberta Darling.
My glass is half full that even the summer is half over, the Packers are going to be reporting to training camp, and that means football is around the corner, and I expect a great year for the Packers. My glass is half empty because summer is half over.
Let's go to Susie Falk.
There's a theme here. My half full glass is boat sharing has sailed into Milwaukee thanks to the Carefree Boat Club, whose members pay a one-time enrollment and monthly dues, which amounts to much less than owning your own boat. This is a fantastic deal in that when you're done boating, you simply return the boat, jump on the dock into your car, leave the boat for the staff to stay behind, clean fuel, and cover the boat. All the fun of boating minus all the headaches. The half empty part is summer is almost half over, or is half over, and there are precious few weeks to take advantage of this deal.
There is a theme. Jim Ott.
Yes.
We don't consult on these. My glass is half empty because it is August and summer is quickly slipping away. It's half full because State Fair begins this week and Packers training camp opened on Thursday, and a beautiful autumn of football lies ahead.
We don't consult, but maybe we should. My glass is half full because the Packers training camp is open and State Fair starts on Thursday. Is everybody saying, though, it's half empty because these things mean summer is winding down? But not yet. Next on Sunday Insight, is it art? We'll talk about the portrait of Pope Benedict made of condoms. It's Benedict, and it's a portrait of former Pope Benedict, May the 16th, made from 17,000 colored condoms. The Milwaukee Art Museum originally planned to display this piece in November, but decided to begin showing it immediately as part of a special display. Many area Catholics are outraged, and some are pulling their support from the Art Museum. So, should the Art Museum be displaying this piece in the first place? And if it was targeting subjects like gay rights, Black Lives Matter, or the Prophet Muhammad in a similar critical manner, would the Art Museum be so quick to exhibit the work? Susie Falk.
You know, I like this piece, and I think the Art Museum is correct to show this. And this is sparking discussion, and we are talking about issues. Ever since Nikki Johnson, the artist from Shorewood, who came out with this piece, and this piece was in reaction to Pope Benedict's statement about how condoms in Africa actually don't solve or prevent AIDS.
Okay, if I want to do a painting, a mural of the Prophet Muhammad with bullet casings to make my point, is the Milwaukee Art Museum going to display that?
You know, I don't know what they
would.
No way. Well, here's the thing.
No way.
Try it, Jeff.
No
I'd
way.
like to see the piece. Okay.
No way.
I love good art sparks conversation,
No,
and whether or not you think there's beauty
the politically correct folks at the Art Museum, it's easy to go after
Christians. Depends on the
Christians.
context.
What with the context? It's okay. Okay, so There is no way the politically correct folks at the Art Museum would
I
go
know
after the
I know the
Prophet
folks
Muhammad.
at the Art Museum,
Yeah?
and they're very open-minded, and they do consider art based on the merit of art, and this is a conversation starter, and this is getting people to talk about the real issues of the day.
So would be something critical of gay marriage, and they wouldn't have the guts to put that up there either. Bob Donovan.
Well, Jeff, I agree with you. First of all, I don't think it's art, but that's my own opinion. And certainly I'm not questioning the
right of the artist to make.
Right. They can display what they decide to display. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you ought to. And this is certainly very offensive to a lot of Catholics, a lot of Christians, and I just think it's in poor taste, and that's my opinion.
Alberta.
You know, the Art Museum's known for its contemporary art, and they do a very good job of promoting that, but they've gone way too far in this. I support freedom of expression,
Sure.
but this is an outrageous political comment that I think is not appropriate for this community, and they have the right to decide whether to show it or not, but I think it's a very bad decision, and it'll backfire on them.
I was just going to ask you, do you think there is going to be a backlash
I
from
think there'll
this?
be a lot of people go and see him because of the controversy, but I think there's going to be a big backlash by people who think this isn't appropriate. I'm not going to support you anymore, and I think that'll be a huge shame because I really love the Art Museum, and I think they're very important to our community.
Jim Ott.
I'm a Catholic, and I'm insulted by the fact that they would put the picture up there. And I say this again with full acceptance of the fact that the artists have freedom of expression. They can paint or do anything they want and use their talents. If somebody wants to buy their work, they certainly have a right to do that. The Art Museum did not have to accept it, nor do they have to put it up. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of hypocrisy involved here, because I agree we could come up with a list, as you, a partial list of groups they would choose not to offend, but it's okay to offend Christians because we turn the other cheek, right? Well, I think a lot of Christians are going to join me and turn their back on the Art Museum. And I say this, it's unfortunate because the Art Museum has a lot of beautiful works of art. They have wonderful shows that come through. I'm sure they have a lot of good people that work there. But if you're going to offend people like this and expect people to continue supporting you and going to you? No.
How about the Archdiocese sending someone to the August 20th forum then? The Milwaukee Art Museum has invited Mustecki to come and talk about this.
But they're not going to change their mind. They've already decided.
They have a forum. What I'm saying is they have a forum to express their dissatisfaction and disappointment in this decision.
But they have plenty of forums. Why play on a rigged thing like the Art Museum? This is going to backfire on them big time.
We'll see. I think attendance is going to skyrocket.
Well, right, yeah, they're going to make some money off it, which is even more shameful.
Yes.
Even more shameful. You might not want to hear it, but we're going to tell you anyways. Let's dish out some unsolicited advice. We start with Bob Donovan.
Well, my advice goes directly to the mayor, surprised by that. In regards to crime, fear, and disorder in the city of Milwaukee, do something, Tom. Do something.
Alberta Darling.
You know, the Wisconsin State Fair opens next week, and my advice for anyone is to experience this one of our wonderful, wonderful fairs, best in the country.
Susie Falk.
Business owners in Milwaukee, you do not have to own a big company to make an impact in the community and within your organization. Google Brookfield-based Diversified Insurance. The company's giving program is associate-driven, giving them leadership experience in areas that are outside their normal set of responsibilities. Externally, Diversified's grant-giving program is tackling issues in innovative ways, such as restoring parks and providing wheelchair-accessible fishing docks for kids with special needs. Giving back is good for business. It helps build relationships with clients, and it promotes employee engagement, and it helps companies build their brands, and Diversified is not one of my clients.
You're hitting that notebook. You really want to hit me, I can tell. Jim Ott.
Jeff, the members of the Common Council and County Board, the arena deal the state legislature passed is good for the state, the county, and the city. Please don't do anything to mug it up.
And my unsolicited advice goes to State Representative Mandela Barnes, who says that he refuses to accept Sheriff David Clark as being black. Mandela, maybe if you stopped race baiting and started listening more to Sheriff Clark, you'd be doing a better job of improving the quality of life for your constituents. Next on Sunday Insight, are we in for another bus driver strike? Well, Milwaukee County bus drivers have been working out without a contract for quite a while now. To call attention to their situation, bus drivers staged a work stoppage during Summerfest and refused to rule out further job action in the future. By the way, the state fair opens on Thursday. Now, the bus company says it's offered all it can afford to offer. There is a new offer on the table. Are the demands of the bus drivers unreasonable, and should the transit system cave in? Jim Ott.
Well, last I heard, they were about $2.7 million apart, and I guess they've put off any possibility of a strike until August 10th, but that is during State Fair, right in the midst of it. And I guess all I can say about that strike that they had during Summerfest, it's like the county is not like a private business that they're going to hurt by going on strike. The people they hurt the most are the people that they serve. So I hope as they go on in these additional negotiations that they really give some thought whether they want to walk out on strike again, especially during State Fair.
Susie Falk, let me make up to you from the last segment. If there is ever a union that I think has been badly in need of hiring a PR specialist to try to shape their message, it would be the bus drivers union.
Yeah, I think they've struggled with this argument, why they disagree with the company that's proposing the situation. I do think, though, that the union has a fair argument in the form of the part-time employees being hired by the company. Here's why. These bus drivers are used to putting in about 8 hours a week in overtime. And if the part-timers are hired, there's going to be less overtime. And unfortunately, I bet a lot of those bus drivers are used to that extra income. So that's the problem. The health care issue, though, this is not good. $12 a month increase in health premiums. I'm sorry, but that's sort of the reality the way it is. You should see what my premiums went up by.
See, I was going with you till you went on that overtime thing. 20-some bus drivers made more than 90 grand with the overtime. 4 made more than 100,000. Right. You need to have a limit on the overtime so people don't run up the cost. Bob Donovan.
Well, if in fact they go out on strike again, it's going to be devastating, and the overwhelming majority of the riders are residents of Milwaukee. So I would urge the mayor to get involved in this whole thing. We cannot afford another strike. Having said that, I talked to a number of the drivers. There's always two sides to every story. Sure. And I am just hoping that some kind of resolution can be arrived at.
Alberta.
But you're right. The average salary is $87,000 to $94,000 with salary and benefits. That's a decent living. And the county said we'll put in $6 million more. And they have a limited amount of money. They capped the number of part-time jobs, and they said they will not fire any of the drivers. So I think it's a pretty good bargain.
I go back to what I said before. If there was ever a group that needed help crafting their message, it would be the bus drivers union. Okay, what is it that you don't get? Let's go around the table. Bob Donovan.
Well, what they said, actually what the chief has said, believe it or not, is that crime in Milwaukee is trending down. What I hear, though, from the people is that they simply aren't buying it anymore.
Alberta Darling.
Donald Trump says that under Governor Wagner, the Wisconsin budget, as projected, has a huge deficit. And he's wrong. Even PolitiFact said that was false. What I heard Donald say was he's taking Democratic talking points to try to win a Republican primary. Not good politics.
Susie Falk.
Another theme here. GOP frontrunner Donald Trump is starting to lay out an immigration policy. As he says, as president, he would deport all undocumented immigrants and then allow the good ones to re-enter the country through an expedited process and live in the U.S. legally, though not as citizens. He says, quote, "We got to move them out. We're going to move them back in if they're really good people." Trump would not say how he would locate round up and deport the 11 million undocumented immigrants. So he says they must go, and when he asked whether he would deport undocumented immigrants who came to the U.S. as children, Trump said that it's a tough situation and it depends. What I heard him say was, "Stop asking me questions on immigration. I have no idea how to fix it. I'm making this stuff up as I go along."
Jim Ott.
Jeff, leaders of Planned Parenthood are saying the organization really hasn't done anything illegal or unethical in spite of the disgusting revelations of the videos. What I'm hearing is that their supporters will do anything to prevent any remaining videos from being released, including going to court.
Career criminal Marvin Jones told a judge this week that he was sincerely sorry for committing more than 45 burglaries over a 14-month period following his release from prison. What I heard was, "Give me one more chance, Judge. And by the way, do you have any good stuff at your house?" Next on Sunday Insight, our panel picks the winners and losers of the week. First, though, here's your morning news update. It's time for our panel to pick the winners and losers of the week. Bob Donovan, you're first.
Well, Jeff, my winners are the entire Donovan clan. My dad will be celebrating his 97th birthday in a couple weeks, and my family has been so blessed to have both Mom and Dad with us for all these years. And my losers are the Milwaukee Art Museum for their insistence on displaying the controversial art piece depicting Pope Benedict made out of condoms. It is offensive to many Catholics and Christians, and in my opinion, certainly doesn't constitute art.
Alberta Darling.
My winner will be the property taxpayers in Wisconsin. We are in our 6th year of property tax decreases, and we held the line in the state budget, and we're going to keep them going down. The loser of the week is Milwaukee's image. When prosecutors and judges won't send people away for crimes, they end up committing more and more dangerous crimes, and that really hurts our image and makes our city less safe.
Susie Falk.
My loser is the Minnesota dentist who paid $50,000 to kill the lion that was being studied by researchers in Zimbabwe. The lion was lured out of his sanctuary, injured with a crossbow, tracked for 40 hours, then shot with a gun, skinned, and beheaded. In 2008, the same guy paid a fine of $3,000 for shooting a black bear in western Wisconsin. Now he's in his own self-induced zoo as protesters have forced him into seclusion. Even if it was legal to shoot a lion, why would you? Nikki Johnson is my winner, the Sherwood artist, for her work, Eggs Benedict, made from colorful condoms and featuring Pope Benedict. It was intended to produce just the type of conversation as the one we are having here on the show today. Ms. Johnson has been quoted as saying, "The piece needs to function on its own. My job is to instigate dialogue, taking this conversation forward." The piece has generated not just local media attention, but national media attention, international media attention from places as far away as London and Ghana. Well done, Nikki. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Jim Ott.
And now you know for sure we don't consult. My loser this week is already discussed, but worth mentioning again. The administration of the Milwaukee Art Museum, who thinks it's a good idea to insult thousands of area Catholics in the name of making the art museum a really vital forum. My winner, all the radio talk show hosts in Milwaukee, including the esteemed Jeff Wagner, our host today, Charlie Sykes, Mark Belling, Vicki McKenna, and Jay Weber for the outstanding job you do in reporting on such issues as the John Doe probe abuses, the Planned Parenthood videos, Hillary Clinton's many issues, and other things that some in the mainstream media just don't seem very interested in.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ott. My losers this week are the Milwaukee Brewers, who had efforts to trade Carlos Gomez to the Mets blow up in their face when news of the deal leaked prematurely. My winner is the Downtown Arena project, which is now one step closer to becoming a reality. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.